Hey everybody. So of course, as I said before, I wanted to do a video about sexuality or sexuality in China. So a few questions that I have. First being, are they open sexually like the people of Japan? Okay, so here's the funny thing about that is, from what I've experienced, I don't think the people, from my opinion, I don't think the people in Japan are exactly open sexually. Now, this doesn't mean one size fits all. They're not. Okay. Certainly, Japanese are rather interesting when it comes to sexuality and the kind of things they do or experiment with, right? But like I said, it's not a one size fits all. That usually only applies to probably like the youth of the big cities now. Most Japanese are still really reserved, really conservative, and are just not that open sexually. If you meet the younger people, the people that do interact with foreigners very often and that like to broaden their horizons kind of thing, then sure, yeah, you'll get that. But for the most part, like the general population in Japan is not open sexually from what I've experienced, in my opinion. That's how I see it. The people in China, on the other hand, I would have to say they're very similar. So they're not as open sexually. When I mean open sexually, I mean like in front of everybody, right? So you probably won't see as much crazy media or videos online or something like that in regards to things that the Chinese do as far as sexual openness is concerned, as compared to the Japanese, right? But I still feel that the Chinese are a more open people in general. Well, the Chinese that I'm surrounded with, right? So I live in a city, not necessarily, it is a big city, but it's not a very crowded city like most places. It's not like Beijing or Shanghai. So I live in Dongguan. It's a moderately populated city. It's very well populated actually, but it's not overpopulated. It's like just right. I like it, right? And from what I've experienced, it's like it depends on who you're talking to and what you're dealing with. So if you go to the bars, you go to the clubs and whatnot like I do, then you notice that the people there are very, very different from the people you're going to meet on a daily basis. So when I go to the bars and I go to the clubs, more times than not, every other person I speak to can actually speak English, which is pretty interesting, right? However, on a regular day, for chances of you finding someone that speaks a lick of English are slim to none. Very, very slim. And with that comes a different sort of appeal and a different sort of behavior when it comes to being social or being sexual. It's hand in hand. If the person's open socially, there's a good chance they're probably open-minded sexually too. But from my experience, it definitely has to do with who are these people that are actually trying to learn more about different cultures, are actually learning different languages, are actually getting involved with foreigners. Those are the people who are going to be open socially, open sexually, etc., etc., etc. Is prostitution rates high? In the city that I am particularly, I think there was probably a moderate prostitution rate. Like, you don't actually see it unless you go to very specific places. And then you're like, oh, well, those are prostitutes. That's kind of obvious. So the prostitution rates aren't necessarily high, but they're evidently there. Just like in the States, if you go to the right places, you see it. Do they also censor pornographic images? You know what? Sometimes I feel like there probably isn't even porn allowed in China. Okay, likely there is, and the locals probably know, the people that live in China, but I don't know personally. Is porn even allowed in their country, right? That's what I'm saying. I don't even know. Are they open sexually when it comes to same-sex, right? Or, are they gays, openly gays, or even closed gays? I wouldn't be able to tell you. Now, as far as that's concerned, I definitely see that more commonly or easily than I would in Japan than I would see it in China. In China, with the people that I've spoken to so far, I really haven't seen anyone that I would say, well, I think they're gay or they would be gay, or guys. Okay, that makes it so difficult. So if you walk around the streets of China and you see guys hanging out together or girls hanging out together, if you look at them, you would think they were gay. It's that simple. Like, you would think they're gay or lesbian or whatever, because of the standard that we have in the States, right? We're not used to seeing guys walking around a certain way together or girls walking around a certain way together all the time. But yeah, they're very close, and they're holding hands or being held by the arm and whatnot, and they're really, really close, right? But when it gets to the topic of people that are gay, it seems to be, at least in my city, pretty taboo. So further notice. Anyway, so I like to keep this video as short as possible, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can with the next one, because I know I've been slacking and delaying and using the excuse of me being busy. Anyway, take care, guys.